So today's second big hearing has just wrapped up. We've been closely watching it. The testimony from Senator Markwayne Mullin, who spent the last several hours trying to convince lawmakers he can turn the page on Kristi Noem's controversial stint leading DHS. He testified that if he is confirmed as secretary, a top goal would be to ensure that the agency, quote, isn't the lead story every day. But right from the top, he was taking shots, challenged by Homeland Security Committee Chairman and fellow Republican Rand Paul, who accused Mullin of having anger issues, was offended he got no apology for personal attacks Mullin made against him, and suggested that Mullin is the wrong man for the job.
Explain to the American public why they should trust a man with anger issues to set the proper example for ICE and Border Patrol agents. Explain to the American public how a man who has no regrets about brawling in a Senate committee can set a proper example for over 250,000 men and women who work at the Department of Homeland Security.
You have spent millions of dollars in my campaigns against me because we just don't get along. However, sir, that doesn't keep me at all from doing my job. I can have different opinions with everybody in this room, but as Secretary of Homeland, I'll be protecting everybody, including Kentucky, as much as I will my own backyard in Oklahoma.
It is notable that Mullin was nominated to lead DHS despite having zero experience in the military, law enforcement, or disaster response. His background does include running a plumbing business and a stint as an MMA fighter. But if he does get confirmed, the challenge ahead is huge. He'd be taking over the third largest agency in the U.S. government, mired in controversy, hamstrung by a funding freeze that he said today amounts to the U.S. playing with fire. I want to bring in former Republican Congressman from Pennsylvania, Charlie Dent. With me here in studio, former ICE Deputy Chief of Staff and Senior Advisor, John Amaya, and former Assistant Chief Counsel for ICE, Veronica Cardenas. So Senator Mullin was questioned about comments he made back in January when he described Minnesota shooting victim Alex Preddy as a deranged individual. Here's what he said today.
Those words probably should have been retracted. I shouldn't have said that, and as Secretary, I wouldn't. The investigation is ongoing, and there is, like I said, there's sometimes going to make a mistake, and I'll own it. That one, I went out there too fast. I was responding immediately without the facts. That's my fault. That won't happen as Secretary.
So you regret that statement?
I already said that, yes, sir.
Would you want to apologize to the family of Alex Preddy?
Well, sir, I just said I regret those statements.
Is that the same as an apology?
I haven't seen the investigation. We'll let the investigation go through, and if I'm proven wrong, then I will absolutely.
Well, Veronica, that's notably different than what we heard from Kristi Noem, who refused to retract any of her comments regarding either Renee Good or Alex Preddy. Having said that, the follow-up question was, should local law enforcement be investigating in these kinds of situations? And the answer was the FBI is set up to do that. And the senator said in response, your answer would make ICE unaccountable. That may be one of the key exchanges, because the questions for Markwayne Mullin we knew were going to be about, would this look different under him than it did under Kristi Noem? What conclusion have you come to?
I think one of the statements that he said was that his goal is not to be in the media every single day like it has been. And so this is playing on that. Like, for me, when I see this, he is a cross between Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. We saw Tom Homan be able to step out and say, we need an investigation on this before we call anybody a terrorist. Kristi Noem was quick to jump the gun and state things that she stated. So here we see a cross in between those two. He retracted the statements he made, but there was no apology. And at the same time, there's no accountability. DHS is still investigating DHS for these shootings, and local law enforcement have been foreclosed from that investigation. So I don't see much is going to change in the day-to-day operations of ICE and DHS.
John, this is your area of expertise. What's your big takeaway from what you heard? And the question about, will things be different if Markwayne Mullin is confirmed?
It's difficult to understand or comprehend how he's ready for the opportunity that's presented to him. Senator Mullin is not Secretary Ridge. He's not Secretary Chertoff or Secretary Johnson. Those individuals were ready for the job. They had the background, they had the education, they had the experience to lead a department that is overwhelmingly focused on the homeland and protecting the American people. We know right now that by virtue of what we're doing in Iran, local law enforcement and federal agents are concerned about the possibility of homegrown attacks, whether they be physical attacks or cyber attacks. And that wasn't even part of the conversation today, but that is squarely what's at issue here. Part of the conversation was whether or not he can apologize to the death of Mr. Preddy's family. And part of the conversation alluded to detention facilities and whether or not we want to be a country that takes us back to the days of World War II when we detained over 120,000 people, 2/3 of them being U.S. citizens, because that is now the target of what this administration wants to do, which is detain over 100,000 people in private prisons.
It's important what you say because the stakes are high on so many different levels for so many different Americans.